What the hell did we watch?
Wrath of Man.
Wrath of Man.
Wrath of Man?
Oh, yeah. He's a man. He's kind of pissed.
Yeah, he was a little pissed off.
He's
He was
gonna
pretty
be
angry.
Wrathful.
Well, it was the wrath of one man, basically.
Yeah, it was basically the wrath of one man. Though, Scott Eastwood seemed pretty mad, too.
Well, yeah.
Well, I mean, he almost had everything.
He almost had it all.
He almost had it all.
And then
But
he got
then he-
shot in the liver.
And the
shot
spleen.
in the dick.
And the lung.
Shot in the dick.
And the heart.
Shot in the dick. Shot in the dick.
But his dick's still standing.
Shot in the liver. Shot in the liver.
And then shot in the spleen. And then also his heart.
That was weird, Steve. That was weird. I didn't like
Oh my god. Alright, welcome to Every Film in the Book. I am Steve.
I am Danielle.
I'm supposed to say something now.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think we all know that's Michael at this point.
That's Michael.
If you listened at all, you would know Michael doesn't like saying his name for some reason.
Yeah, that's Michael.
It's kind of his thing. You know, for being a Canadian, he's not very polite in introducing himself.
Wow. Hurts like all three of my feelings, Steve. Wow.
You have 3 feelings?
That's all I got today.
Name them. Name your feelings.
I hate Steve. Done.
That's feelings?
Easy task, boy.
All right. Well, that seems like a pretty big mood, but we're going to move on past that.
Wrath of Man!
Yes, this week on the show, we watched Wrath of Man, starring Jason Statham and directed by one of my favorites, Guy Ritchie.
Guy Ritchie.
But
The
I will
guy.
say, this is one of the least Guy Ritchie movies I think I've ever seen.
Really?
Yeah, like compared to his other stuff, like the kind of like comedy, like gangster kind of films, this
Yeah.
was the like complete left field of that.
Oh,
Like,
yeah,
it was
it was-
more serious.
It was
there was
very
a lot
serious.
more violence.
Way darker than...
very dark.
The other stuff is light, and this is
Mhm.
like... Some of the stuff's funny, but the tone of the whole film is just like, he's here to get it done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like the thing I like about Guy Ritchie's movies is the dialogue. Like the stuff that he writes is the most ridiculous, most British shit I've ever heard.
Well, so, like, I guess there's a difference between writing and script writing, where you're actually writing word for word. I thought that this was, like, terrible throughout the whole... For the dialogue. The dialogue was written terribly. Like, I was watching the first couple scenes thinking, like, did, like, a college student write this? Like, somebody... Like,
Oh,
a high school? Like, I don't
In
know.
the cash truck for the first time.
Well, like, all the characters, all of their dialogue was, like, weird and awkward. It sounded forced. Like, it didn't sound natural. Like,
Yeah.
nobody sounded...
It's almost like it was a British director writing for an American cast, except Jason Statham, and he's like, "Hey, make my British words sound good."
Right?
Yeah, it sounded really forced. I don't know.
Yeah, well, all right, I'm gonna drop a bad word here,
Oh,
but
no.
notice how they only said cunt once, when in most Guy Ritchie movies that's every other sentence.
Right, basically.
Maybe that adds to it.
So I mean, like Americans can't really say that word and sound classy like the British. Like
That's true.
look at The Gentleman. They're saying that word every other second, and it sounds yeah. They're like, "Oh, cunt. My name's Charlie Dunham. You cunt." All right, so if you're still listening, we did watch Wrath of Man. Now, this movie is like a revenge plot type thing, but with 30,000 time jumps written in.
Basically, they just... We're going to show you something. We're going to go somewhere else. We're going to show you something else. We're going to show you something else after that. And after like 6 times... Now you can start to piece it together.
Right. It's like you're getting puzzle pieces of the whole story, but it's like at different times, and it's a little confusing to put all together.
We literally start in the middle of the movie, then we flash back to the beginning of the movie, then we flash back to the sort of beginning of the movie,
Right.
and then we go back and finish the movie through the middle.
Basically, yeah.
Kinda.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's it just doesn't remind me of like a Guy Ritchie film. Like, yeah, he has multiple plot lines going at once, but they all collide at the
it's normally
end. And it
shaped.
all starts from like the beginning of these characters' plot lines. But like, this seems like a very different take for him.
Yeah, I will say it was very unique in that if they would have just done this movie from beginning to end, it would have been any other action movie. Whereas, like, at least they were trying to do something unique and something original and keep you on your toes rather than just seeing a story from beginning to end. It's just a job, and there's the good guy and the bad guy, and the good guy gets the bad guy in the end, and, you know.
Oi, you killed my son, you cunt.
Yeah, but, like, the whole time...
He was good. When he was the inside man, he was good. He didn't lash out or nothing. He was there to do a job.
Yeah, I still don't know what Jason Statham is, but anyway, let's get into this a little bit. So
Yeah.
where do we start? I kind of forget where this movie begins.
Well, there's a scene that happens that is the center of the whole movie, and that's where they start you.
Okay.
And it's a money truck getting hijacked by some dudes. And all you see from the first scene is the inside of the truck. So you're getting the guys on the inside, their perspective of what just happened.
I will say that is kind of cool camera work where
Yeah.
the camera's just sitting in the back of this cash truck for like the first 20 minutes of the movie while
Oh, yeah.
this whole heist is going down.
Right. It just kind of gives you a focal point, and it's like you're at the center of everything, and that's
Right.
where they're starting. And then later on, you do realize, like, oh, that scene is the center of the whole movie.
Oh, yeah,
Right.
it's
And
literally
the
center.
camera just sits there for a while.
Now, I've never been flashbanged. I know Michael has been flashbanged at least twice.
You know, at least twice.
At least twice.
Yeah, the
So-
paintball games
so
get a little
Michael-
intense.
Yeah, so Michael, how accurate would you say this flashbang scene is? In
Well, to be honest, Steve,
yeah.
they just kind of shortened the effects.
Okay. Okay.
And you would be deaf for a long time.
Because I know in
and
Call
your
of
eyes
Duty
would
they were
really
pretty
hurt.
annoying.
Yeah, but your
Give me
eyes
that
would, you would want to
noise.
rip your eyes out, and it would
Oh, not my eyes.
it'd be a little while before you wanted to walk away and try to accomplish something.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're saying these guards were completely correct in
They're-
being little bitches.
They
After
got
getting
out
flashbanged.
and complied for sure.
Yeah.
because that would most likely suck. a
Yeah,
lot.
I mean, I don't want a giant, loud, flashing light to go off in my face either. but-
No.
And a bang. It's a flash and a bang.
Yeah, it goes.
It goes flash bang.
that's how it goes, and all
You
of a sudden
pull
you
the
have to
pin.
puke.
Yeah, no,
Flashbang.
you pull the pin 2 seconds later. Flashbang.
Yep.
That's exactly how it goes.
Everyone's unconscious.
Yeah, so these guys comply after they get a flashbang thrown into their truck. They step out, stuff starts going wrong, but we're only really seeing it from the perspective of the people loading like the cash from the back of
Right.
the truck. We hear that 2 people were shot, we heard that a kid was shot, and then we hear, basically the opening credits of the movie.
Right.
So, like, we know something went wrong on this job, but we don't know what yet until they flash to whenever in the storyline later in the movie.
Yeah.
Right.
And then we go back in time, right? Like by a couple weeks.
Well, we get shown him getting the job then,
Yeah.
Yes.
and taking the test and all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
see, I think I'm piecing it in my mind as how I see it now that I've seen the whole movie, so it's
Oh,
kind of
for
hard to
sure.
go back and
Right.
explain the whole
Explain it
thing.
how the movie
Yeah,
made
so
Right.
it
basically,
go.
this is still the middle portion of the movie where, like,
Right.
it's after Jason Statham realizes he's got to get a job on the inside after he's done, like, doing all of his evil shit. So,
well, we don't know anything about
Well,
him at
yeah.
all. He just seems like a dude getting a job.
yeah.
Yeah.
And he's definitely seems like the oddball out at this like security company.
And
when he's interviewing.
he's skilled in the ways of the gun.
Well,
and
Yeah, like they're
Ways
putting
of the
him
stuff.
through the shooting training, and instead of just shooting all in like the bullseye, he shoots each individual number around the target. So he's just like, yeah, I missed, but I missed awesomely. Like, you can't
Right.
even deny
he
that.
purposely
well,
missed.
he told him Bullet told him how many points he need. You have to get 70 to pass, and
Yeah.
then he gets exactly 70 to pass.
Right,
And
'cause
that's
he
the
doesn't-
first kind of hint on. Besides the fact that he's Jason Statham, okay. Besides that fact, that's the first time you see him like do something extraordinary.
Right.
Yeah, and he doesn't want to seem too good. Like he knows
he's
that
like,
he's
Right.
supposed
I'm
to
just
be.
an
He needs to
average
get the
Joe.
job.
Yeah.
I have a deep, sensual voice.
Well, the rest of the movie, hinges on him getting that job. If he doesn't
Right.
get that job, the movie's over until they find a different way to get revenge
Right.
on his son getting shot in a hostage
goes-
situation.
He goes through like 14 different plots
Right.
to get revenge because they
The
keep
movie's
messing
7
up.
hours long. Oh, it didn't work again. 6 months later. I'm a different guy doing a different thing.
I got a job as a garbage collector.
It didn't work out. 74 months later.
I'm a tax attorney, and I'm here to file your taxes. Oh, wait, it didn't work. He's like 73, still trying to get revenge. Oh, my
Well,
God.
that didn't happen.
Yeah, no. But, yeah, so he gets this job as a cash truck driver.
Security
Yeah,
officer.
security
And-
officer. But we can tell, he's got more in mind than just being a security officer. He goes off on like his job, and of course his cash truck gets robbed. So he, immediately is like calm, cool, collected, and we're kind of like, oh man, the guy who's been having this job for a while is kind of pissing his pants a little bit.
And that's the first time we see Boy Sweat.
That's his name, Boy Sweat.
Camp.
Yep.
Well, all right. We should also say that Jason Statham's character is only named H. Like, these are the dumbest nicknames that they could give these characters.
Well, so it's hard to talk about all the characters without spoiling everything, but I don't think anyone cares at this point. So the guy who gave him the nickname H was the inside guy, though. So was he giving him that nickname for his own code words, and so that like everyone on the inside could refer to him as that?
I don't think. No, definitely not.
Isn't that
No.
I mean, during the robberies, they were called numbers. Like,
Yeah.
number 2's down, number whatever. But I think everybody kind of had a nickname there.
yeah,
Right.
like the guy's name was Bullet.
But he
Boy
does
Sweat.
He does make a point of going, what's his last name? Hall or something?
Yeah, Hall.
Yeah, and he's like, Hall, H. I'll call you H. So it's just
Yeah.
kind of a, stupid thing.
But then he's also like saying like, don't be a hero, and like they're emphasizing the whole hero thing, and H hero. I don't know.
Well, it just
That might be a
seems-
dumb connection, but
Well, I'm just saying,
dumb
he
action
seemed to
movie.
jump the gun on the nickname. Like, Jason Statham isn't like 20 minutes into this job and he's already got a nickname.
Right.
Like,
You're right.
You should wait till after, like, his cash truck gets robbed and he, like, pinpoint shots like 15 dudes in the head.
that first day, that was a doozy of a first
he
day.
shoots Post Malone in the face.
Hey, sometimes
Post
you gotta do
Malone.
it. Sometimes you gotta shoot him.
I can't believe they put Post Malone in this movie for 10 minutes and then he gets shot in the face.
Well, I told this is his. He's been in a couple movies now.
Yeah, it's just a little cameo.
And he
Yeah, but
he
what
plays
other
some
movies has
gangsta
he
shit.
been
Spencer Confidential with
Spencer
Mark
Confidential?
Wahlberg. Yeah.
What the hell
He
is
plays
Spencer
a guy
Confidential?
he's a prisoner.
Well,
in
that I
jail with Mark
believe.
Wahlberg, and they
He
like
looks like a
talk
prisoner.
shit, and then I'm pretty sure he gets his ass kicked in that movie too.
So what's the point of the movie? It's just Post Malone getting his ass kicked?
No, it's all about Mark Wahlberg, but
Oh.
Post Malone's just in it and gets his ass beat, just like this
Just
movie.
like this
too.
movie.
He's
Yeah.
really good at getting his ass beat.
Yeah, no, I will say, of all the people who got shot, he took it the best.
Nah, if I'm rich and famous on vacation, I'd like to be in a movie. You know what I mean? So
Just do it
good
on the
for him.
weekend.
Good for
Yeah.
him to get in the film. I'm rich and famous. I'm going on vacation. Put me in a movie.
Just put me in a movie. That's basically Adam Sandler's whole movie career. He's like, I was on vacation. Let's film a fucking movie. Oh, shit. All right. So he gets robbed. He ends up, Jason Statham ends up killing everybody who robs him. And everybody's like, yo, what the fuck? Like, is this guy like some weird, like, psychopath who got a job and just likes killing? Like, what's going on? So we're trying to figure out who the hell Jason Statham is, and everybody else in the movie
Right.
is also trying to figure out who he is. But then after that, that's when we flash backwards to see like the beginning of the story.
Yeah, so you keep getting like title cards, and I'm pretty sure those were just to mark like, all right, we're following a different story now. Like within everything that's happening, we're just gonna go see a different side of it. So it like takes you back and then shows you a title card to kind of represent a different side of the story.
It's all split up with those.
Yeah. But yeah, so we're flashing back. Jason Statham's out with his son, and
so this is like the beginning of his whole story.
Yeah, so this leads up to him getting that job as a cash truck driver. But he's out with his son. We find out that he's doing like some like dirty business or something. Like he might be a mobster, he might not be a mobster. God only knows what he is. It's never really confirmed, other than he's a badass motherfucker. So he's out with his son. They're about to go to some game, but they want to stop off and get food first. So they stop off and get food. Jason Statham kind of like breaks off, and he's doing some like weird dealings, trying to tell this guy on the phone where, a truck is going.
Well, he gets called for work.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, you're near whatever. We need to know, is the truck turning left or right?
Right.
Yeah, and he happens to be with his son, and he's like, I wasn't planning to take my son out on a job.
Because he's like big boss man.
Right.
And he doesn't want to get involved in the petty low-life shit.
Right.
Like, that's why he's got underlings. Like, they're supposed to do his job for him.
Right.
But, yeah, so he goes to this burrito stand. He sees where this cash truck is turning, tells his guy on the phone, orders his burritos.
And of course, his car is out of sight.
Of course.
Yeah, they definitely don't show you where it is while it's happening.
Yeah, no.
Until after the fact, when you know what happened to his son then.
Right. But, yeah, so, he starts walking back to his son, and while he's out getting his burritos, that's when these people are robbing this cash truck, and that's what we see in the beginning of the movie. So we're basically seeing the robbery again, but just from Jason Statham's point of view.
Right.
So he sees, his son get shot, he goes running, Jason Statham takes a couple bullets, drops his burritos, which I think is the biggest crime. They didn't even get to eat their burritos.
No. Not the biggest crime, but continue.
Yeah. So he gets shot, and then, we cut to him waking up in the hospital. We find out his son is dead. He's been shot 6 times.
Right.
And he's pissed. And then...
Rightfully so.
Of course. I mean, if you shoot my son, I'd be pretty pissed.
The son you don't have.
The son I never had, he's already dead.
Oh, no.
And then, you get a little clip of the the mother of the son, who I assume they're not together.
Yeah, I think he said she still lives in London, and that's where the son lives, because he said his son was on holiday.
Yeah. I mean, you can kind of get that, the whole relationship with his son is that, they weren't really a real traditional family, he was spending time with his son, so the reason why he wouldn't just say, you know what, sorry, I can't do this right now, let me run out by myself, and then I'll come back and get you. It was kind of like he had to hang out with his son, because he was only going to see him for a couple days, so it put him in that weird position of well, gotta hang out with him, but I also have to do my job, and then he died.
At that point, we think Jason Statham works for somebody else.
Right.
Which is kind of cool. Like it seems like he's an employee and something bad happened, and then it's probably an hour and 10 minutes later you find out that he was doing them a favor.
Right. He's big man on campus.
He's big man on campus, and he was doing them a favor.
But yeah.
And then they obviously close up when they find out who it happened to, whose son it was.
But yeah, so then it cuts again to a different plot line, and it's all these ex-military guys who are oh man, the U.S. government kind of left us behind, we don't have jobs, we don't have any missions anymore, and their ex-sergeant basically starts telling them all right, so we can start robbing shit, and we'll steal from the government, but it's fine. They owe us.
It's
we
insured.
were soldiers. Yeah,
it's insured. We won't hurt anybody.
Right.
So
it always starts that way.
Yeah. So we see them go on a couple jobs, and then we realize that they're the team that ends up killing Jason Statham's
Right.
son. So, they plan this whole robbery of a cash truck. They dress up like construction workers. They have it's actually a really good plan.
Oh yeah,
For,
Yeah,
I
they
think, like,
really
plan.
planned it out.
For like 4
Just-
weeks worth of prep, I think they said.
The one guy that is kind of hinted at being crazy does something crazy during the robbery.
Yeah. And of course, that's played by Scott Eastwood,
Right.
trying to
of
live
course.
up to his dad's name.
With a nice big scar on the left
Yeah,
eye.
he's got to have a scar.
Gotta have a scar.
You can tell
you
he's
can't
a
trust
villain.
Him. You can't trust
Yeah.
him.
can
Well, I'm
never
just saying, if you have a scar on your eye, look back to The Lion King. The villain was named Scar. He
Scar.
had a scar. It's pretty obvious where that's going
He
to end up.
betrayed his brother.
Brother, help me. Long live the king.
Yeah, that was the scene. Steve.
Yep.
Yeah,
Good job.
remember The Lion
Thanks,
King?
Steve.
Does
We
everyone
all
remember The
we
Lion
all
King?
appreciate it.
All right, good.
Yeah, but yeah, like looking back, it's like, okay, yeah, I get it. It's kind of obvious, but when you're watching it, it definitely feels like, what the fuck is going? Oh, okay. Now I feel stupid.
Yeah, it's
like it
just-
almost makes you feel a little stupid.
It's just such a weird way to tell a story, to start from the middle, then give us like the sort of beginning, then give us the middle beginning, and then right back to the middle of the movie.
Right,
Yeah.
with some of the ending sprinkled in there a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
Just up until the all right, I get the whole thing now.
Yeah,
Right.
because like basically all like sprinkled throughout this are just scenes of Jason Statham going insane, like torturing people, trying to get
Right.
information out of people. He's just killing so many people.
Yeah.
Leading up to the idea of, well, this has to be an inside job. Like,
Right.
We've watched them. We've done all our homework like they did it with everyone else.
Right.
So I think there's a larger gap in time in between, like more months.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
it's
five
like
They
gotta
months.
flash
be.
on the screen or something.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah, 'cause
it's
they
like
tell us
5 months
5
later.
months.
So they're much more prepared for that
Right.
later on.
Mm-hmm.
But so, all right, so after all that, and we get the 3 plot lines from their beginning, and we pick up back from the middle of the movie. So Jason Statham is, hanging out with his coworkers. He's doing all that shit. But he ends up sleeping with that one female,
The only female.
Yeah, the only
The
other
only
female.
female guard.
Her name is
He-
Dana. Steve.
Yeah.
I'm so-
No respect.
The
I don't
blonde
remember the
no
name.
respect. Her name was Dana.
It's because she doesn't have a goofy nickname like Boy Sweat.
Nah, that's Dana.
But all right, so my question is, he ends up sleeping with her. He and then like wakes her up in the middle of the night and starts like interrogating her.
Right.
So
as
like
you do.
Yep.
So
as you do.
I just want to know what that scene was about, because he didn't interview or interrogate any other person that worked for that company, only her.
I mean, there's
So like, was there
something he was-
information that I missed?
Maybe he just wanted to vet her so he didn't have to hurt her, and he can come back to her later. You
well,
know.
and also like he knew that there was somebody on the inside, or like
Right.
I can assume that there was somebody on the inside, and when he found a stack of cash in her apartment,
right.
that seemed a little suspicious. So he was just
And
questioning
it's
her.
implying that the easiest way for Jason Statham to get information from a woman
Is
to
to
sleep
get
with
some
them.
dick
pussy.
her down.
I mean, I gotta be honest. If Jason Statham showed up at a bar and he's like, "Oi, let me buy you a drink," I'd be like, "My pants are
Okay.
already down, dude. I'm
Like,
ready.
We ain't drinking. I want to feel all of this.
I want to be as least numb as possible. Let's go."
Right?
Oh God! Don't even use the lube.
No,
Just put it in dry.
just use your British accent. That'll get me wet enough.
Get your butt wet enough.
you don't need to know about my medical conditions.
Leaky butt, leaky butt.
That's leaky butt.
Oh my God! Don't judge me on my leaky butt. I don't like that any of this is being recorded.
Listen here, Rain Man, with your leaky butt.
12 minutes to
Jeez.
Wapner.
Oh,
Anyone actually seen Rain Man?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
I've actually seen Rain
Oh,
Man.
okay, cool. Anyway,
No.
back to Wrath of Man.
Back to the movie we watched.
Where are so we're in the
Where
middle.
are
We start getting a little more of the story
Yeah, so
where he's done torturing and he's like, okay, it needs to be an inside job. And then you go, okay, all the time spent earlier in the film with that being his job. Okay,
Right.
now all that makes sense.
And then from there, they just move forward in time.
They
Like,
just
they
move
don't do any
forward.
more
Yeah.
cuts.
And that's the they get robbed and he gets out and shows his face. He
Right.
where they gassed the thing, and
Yeah,
he
so-
goes
Yeah.
out the back and has the cloth over his mouth, and then he takes it away and they just go away.
Right.
So he's like, that's the crew.
Yeah.
They did it.
And
for
they
sure.
know his face because of the
Right.
first time that he killed their men.
Right.
Well, no, wasn't the... All right, so they get robbed again. So this is in the middle of the story. We're getting robbed again.
Yeah.
But what I thought was the people robbing that cash truck were Jason Statham's crew that we keep seeing throughout these torturing scenes. So, like, I thought they were the people
No.
who were like, that's why the time jumps got me
So-
confused, because like when they were pulling off their masks and they're like, that was what's his name, and then like,
Right.
it cuts again. So like, I thought his own crew was robbing a cash truck and he just happened to be on it. So when he like pulled his face off, like Michael just smacked his mic. But not that he like pulled his face off, but when he like revealed his face, that's why they were like, oh shit, no, boss is on this one, like, let it go. Or did I see that completely wrong?
Well, that either way, kind of.
No,
In
so
a
like
way,
the
that's-
crew that actually were trying to take the truck down, that was his crew?
No.
I didn't think so.
He's just upper level in that organization that does things like that. and
Oh,
knock
so
cash.
that they
Yeah.
just happened to know. I thought it was like, because like I saw the dude with
Right.
like the white beard,
because
who looks like Mel
he went
Gibson.
undercover, and he kind of, I imagine he faked his death kind of
Right.
thing. So other people probably thought he was dead too, and then they're like, "Oh, didn't know this was what was going on."
Right.
All right, cool, and backed off. So they definitely knew him, but they probably indirectly work for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there
Oh,
was
okay.
like that kind of third group of dudes that I didn't really get what their deal was.
It's almost like the business still having to go on. Like they still need to make these scores and do these things.
Right.
Okay, so they weren't like his like crew that was helping
Well, I
him
mean-
torture, but it just happened to be like a group of people who know
This
who he
is
was.
the leader of the company is giving Black Friday speeches
Right.
at the company because they get robbed so often. So this is a world where this happens all way too much.
Right.
And this is semi-normal.
And this is like a theme in these types of gangster action movies where you don't really ever fully understand the grasp of what's going on. You're just like, okay, I kind of understood generally what happened, but you never really get the full grasp of like the whole system because it's usually a lot.
And I feel like they never show like the common man's perspective on any of this. Like it's always
Right.
given to you in the perspective of the crew, or the
Right.
guy who's getting stolen from, or the guy who's setting up the heist, or the
Right.
guy that's owns the company that is the security for the place where the heist is going to be. So I feel like that happens a lot.
Right. Yeah, no, it's not that I didn't like the way this one was like kind of like structured, but it just made it so confusing. Like just like I thought his own crew was like robbing a thing, and then that when they saw him, he was just like, "Nah, we're out. Like we can't fuck with this. Like he's too deep."
Yeah, I think the term like his crew is kind of confusing because so we have like the bad guys of the movie, the ones who killed his son. They were a small group, but I think everything else on Jason's side is that like his shit is much bigger than what is
Right.
really shown.
Yeah, like he's definitely like some Scarface level, like
Right, and they
killed a bunch of people.
They call him boss, so he's got to be like
he's got to be
top
the
of the
boss.
shit.
Yeah.
And they also they kind of tell you that in the film with the what do they call him, captain or colonel or whatever.
Yeah, Sarge.
Sarge.
Yeah.
He never gets permission from anyone,
Right.
and so he's the top of that small group.
Right.
So it's almost like the guy running things and has the most power, and there's this private rogue group that, since they were in a unit together in the military, they come and they're doing this stuff, and this kid just so happened to be a casualty of one of those things. So I feel like they do show you that he's like so above this, but he's willing to, get down and gritty to figure out what happened and avenge his son.
Right. Yeah. Okay. But yeah, so, they get robbed again. Jason Statham shows his face. This crew runs away because they know who he is. And Jason has to explain to his superiors, like, what happened on this job. Because, like, Jason's
back at the money factory.
Yeah. Back at the money factory.
Back at the money factory, there's trouble a brewing.
Meanwhile, at the money factory, Jason Statham is explaining himself. But yeah, so he's sitting with his bosses, and there's like 3 other people in the room, and he's just like, "Oi, they just walked away. It's weird. I don't know how to explain it." And like, even his superior's like, "Well, this seems kind of weird." But then the other guy in the room is just like, "What are you fucking talking about? Promote this man. He's so scary. Like, he just looks at people and they run away from our trucks."
So naive.
That's the first time we see the leader of all of it, right? Where he goes and sits with him in the car, I think, is the first time we see him.
Right.
And the bosses are in the back seat, and they get a phone call from him. I think first they get a phone call saying, "Hey, this guy's there doing something.
Yeah,
let him be a good employee.
Yeah,
take the publicity, make money."
Oh, because that's after he kills that first squad, like Post Malone's guys.
Right.
Because then they're like, "Yeah, dude, are you sure we want him in here?" And they're like, "Just let him. Let the painter paint."
The first time he went nuts, they weren't too worried about it.
Right.
And then the second time it happened, they're like, "All right, now it's a thing.
Yeah,
what's going on?
We need to be concerned about."
And they were like, "No. Like, he's there for something that you and I don't need to know about. Let the painter paint."
Yeah. But yeah, so it's basically more and more things start unraveling as we go along, and we find out that this military group, they're going to pull one last job on Black Friday.
Right.
They're going to rob all of the cash trucks at once by hitting like the main what did you call it? The money factory?
The money factory.
The money factory's getting robbed.
But like, it's always the one last job. We're just going to do one last job.
Oh, yeah.
I would be like, nah, fuck it, I'm out. I am never doing the one last job, because that's when I die.
Yeah, that's when everybody dies.
Yeah, it's always the last job.
The one thing I liked was they made $18,000 a piece for their first job.
And they're like, what is this trash?
They're like, this is bullshit. We need to up the ante.
And then they get like $30,000.
But they actually went through and showed you that, like, hey, these guys have put in some work.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're like, it kind of makes it. I knew Jason Statham was gonna win because, like, he's in the movie. So, but at the same time, you do see the other guys' progression. They're like, hey, they mean business.
Yeah.
Like, they're here to, and it made it more of an equal. It put them on more equal standings.
Right. It definitely wasn't like a one-man army and Jason Statham killing all these guys like no problem.
Right.
Like, he definitely, struggled a little bit. But like, especially when they're like planning all this mission, like, you can tell like they've all kind of jumped the deep end a little bit. Like, first
They're
it was just like first it was just Scott Eastwood. He goes a little nuts on that job and kills Jason Statham's son and then shoots him, and then like he goes a little off order. But like, when it comes to this last job, they're all just killing whoever they need to, because they're like, yeah, fuck it, like, we could get 150 million right now.
The intense scenes definitely do get more frantic.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can definitely,
everyone at the start is very disciplined and things go well, and then as soon as one thing happened to the wrong guy, it just all starts unraveling.
Right.
Like, it just goes to show, like, they took eight weeks to plan this Black Friday job.
Right.
And it still goes off like terribly. Like, from the minute they get in there, like, yeah, they seem like they're controlling the situation a little bit, but then once those dudes behind the glass start firing at them, like, all bets are off. Like the all organization they think they had like goes out the window. And it's like that kind of like typical like heist planning scene where like they're showing you them planning it, but then they're cutting to them in action, like going through it.
Right.
And they're like, yeah, we'll be totally fine. Like by the time the cops chase us, like we'll be safe. And it's like half of them are dead at this point.
Right.
Well, yeah, and like
this wasn't part of the plan.
the whole time they're hinting at this guy, I don't know his name, who ends up betraying the rest of his military squad.
Bullet.
Yes, they show you glimpses here and there while they're going through that whole plot of like him giving like a little glare and like him spending his money even though they told him not to, and you're like, oh, this guy's a douchebag. He's probably gonna be a douchebag later.
Oh yeah, that's the Scott Eastwood
That's
character.
Scott Eastwood.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, they definitely foreshadowed the douchebagness.
Oh, yeah.
If that's a
And-
word.
You know, the last heist of the day, so to speak.
Right.
He's the guy, like, kind of fucking over the last couple that survived
Right.
legitimately and put in some work to get that far in the heist. Like,
Yeah.
there were some guys doing what they're told, blah, blah. So it's like you follow orders and you got killed
Right.
at this point because he takes a couple out, you know, in order to have, you know, all of it be his. But
Yeah.
I'm not terribly unhappy that he killed. Wow, what's the main guy's there? Bullet.
Bullet.
Yeah, he's just like too slow, and then
Oh,
too
yeah.
slow and kills him.
Yeah, because basically, like, they get into this huge shootout once they actually get into the money
Right, but
factory.
it shows them both about to do the same thing.
Yeah.
So it's like the only reason he wins is because he's younger and faster, and he
Yeah.
beats you. So it's like,
And
it
like he
could've
already
gone either
knew
way.
he was gonna
Oh,
freaking
yeah.
betray. It
Yeah,
was,
they both were trying to kill each
there
other.
was more
Yeah.
betrayals in this movie than The Departed. Like this was just
Okay. Well, maybe
betrayal
we
central.
can't go that far. 'cause
There were
that-
a
that
lot
one's
of
twisted.
betrayals.
I
in The
swear,
Departed.
it's every other guy is just like, oh, well, I'm gonna kill you, and it's like, not if I kill you first.
But not if I kill you first.
And then the other guy pops up, like who we thought was dead, and he's like, but not if I kill you first.
Right. And we haven't even talked about that.
Yeah.
Jason Statham died 7 times in this
He
film.
died
He did.
7 times.
He dies 7
He's
times.
a cat. He has 9 lives.
He gets shot 6 times. Well, short hospital stay,
I mean,
please.
Yeah.
50
Like,
Cent got shot 9 times, so like, you know, it's possible.
and then he gets shot again.
Got
Yep.
shot again.
And they
Yeah, like he's laying on the ground because he
They
gets
show you the
shot
stare.
in the money factory robbery.
Yep.
And he's lying on the ground like after he kills like 2 or 3 of them, like he's he gets shot by Bullet who's
Right, that's at the end.
Yeah, he ends up betraying all the guard people, but like
Yep, give me a gun, give me a gun.
yeah, but like
Thank you.
yeah, so
Then shoots them both.
yeah.
They
But
shot Dana.
Dana, no.
Dana, no.
Dana.
They shot Dana.
At least she got that Jason Statham dick before she died.
What a way
Hey,
to go.
Somebody's got to have it.
Somebody's got to get it, and if it can't be me, I'm glad it was Dana. But yeah, so after Bullet gets his gun and he shoots Jason Statham, like we see him on the floor, like his eyes are wide open, like he's all bloody. He looks like he's dead. And then of course. Like after that scene, like we think Scott Eastwood gets away with it. Like he shoots his partner, who's Bullet, and he takes all the money that they just robbed from the money factory.
And so, like, they escape through these underground tunnels.
Yeah.
And they take the truck and they get on, like, ATVs. And then they
call them
get on,
quads.
Yeah.
Quads.
And
Put the
then-
money on the quads.
quad.
And go to the end of the tunnel.
quad through the tunnel.
Drive the quad.
And they're like,
You're gonna
there's
make
no
it."
way SWAT will know where we are because this map is old as fuck.
Because we got squads.
There's no way the SWAT will look at a map from the 1950s.
But you're going to have to load the money into a Prius.
Load
Yeah,
it
then they
into
get
the
into
Prius.
Then they get into a Prius. Which
Well, it's fuel efficient.
Hey, if you're trying to hide,
Yeah.
if you're trying to hide,
You put the money in a
Put it in a
Prius.
Prius.
put it in a
Well,
Prius.
also,
trunk space.
Gas
It's an electric.
prices are $4.95 right now.
Yeah, so they're trying to be
they're
fuel
trying to be
efficient.
fuel efficient.
No one gives a fuck how much gas costs, Steve.
Everyone does.
You're gonna buy it regardless.
Well, yeah, I gotta go places, but it doesn't mean I
Exactly.
can't complain
No,
about it.
No, it's almost as bad as talking about how to get where we're going.
But how am I supposed to know, Michael, if I don't know to go
I
straight?
can't tell
we're gonna listen to this, in 10 years from now and be like, oh my god, gas was only $4.99. Wow.
We're using helium now, and it's crazy.
Also, our cars can fly.
No.
What? You
No.
don't want
In
flying?
10 years, I don't think.
They won't. In 10 years, Steve.
I give it like another
Gee
20 to
whiz.
30.
You can't even understand a heist movie, and you want to be able to drive a flying car.
Yeah, but
I think not.
I feel like the flying car would be easier to understand than the
No.
fucking
They told you how
movies.
much time had passed. 7 times.
Yeah, in 3 different locations. They're just like 3 months later, 3 weeks later, 5 months later, 17 years later. And then it cuts to Scott Eastwood in some God knows how many amount of years, and he's just like, I got slippers and bed sheets now. I'm pretty famous.
He's living large, but it's still fresh enough that he has a duffel bag of money on his counter.
Yeah.
Because that's
Right.
necessary for the film.
Yeah, he just had them all laid out, like,
Yeah.
just showing off. Like, if
doesn't even
anybody
put
came
him
in
in
his
a
house.
bank. Yeah.
Like, a maintenance guy comes over into his apartment and is like, what the
Oh,
fuck?
Is this
Right.
my tip? Because
And then,
thank you, Scott
A
Eastwood.
pretty good revenge scene.
Yeah, because
They,
it's the Jason Statham's like Scott Eastwood gets a phone call that's coming from one of the duffel bags, and he picks up the phone, and you hear Jason Statham in the room go like, "Oi, you gonna answer that?"
Right?
Oi.
And then, he explains himself.
Yeah.
This is why I'm here.
He hands him a folder of his
He knows
son.
he knows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, read this folder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that was the autopsy report that he
Yeah.
asked his, coworker to get for
Yeah,
him.
so Scott Eastwood basically reads through what he did to Jason
his son.
Statham's son. It's like, oh, you punctured his liver, you
Yep.
punctured his spleen, you,
his lung.
Left
yeah, you
lung.
punctured his left lung, and
And
you
then his
punctured his heart, and this cause of death was bleeding out. So, so Scott Eastwood, of course, is like, well, what the fuck do you want? And Jason's like, I want your liver, and he shoots him in the
Boom.
liver. Then he's
Right?
like, I want your spleen.
Boom.
Boom, gets his spleen, and he's like, I want your lung. And he shoots him in the lung. And then Scott Eastwood is terrible at acting because he's just laying there like, am I getting shot right now? And then Jason Statham's
You
like,
Sentinel.
I want your heart.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't say
I
it.
want your heart.
He doesn't say it.
I want you to send me a
just-
Valentine.
He just shoots him in the heart. He doesn't say it, Steve.
He doesn't say it? I thought
No,
he said it.
He doesn't say
He
it.
doesn't say it?
And just shoots him and just kills him.
Jeez. How cold?
Not cold.
Doesn't even ask for his heart.
No. Take it. He killed your son. Murder the whole bloodline.
Well, I'm not saying not to murder the whole bloodline, but at least ask him
No,
consent for his
no,
heart.
you don't have to be nice. He wasn't nice.
I will say I was kind of hoping for more of a John Wick type of you killed my dog sort of thing. Like I think John Wick killed more people for a dog than he did for his son.
Yeah,
Like,
Jason
It's a
Statham.
completely different movie.
I know, but John Wick has ruined all action movies for me because now I put them all at that level. I want that much murder.
I mean, there's just something so badass about when John Wick finally gets to the guy who killed his dog,
Yeah.
and like the kid's just laying on the ground after like 13 cars have exploded around him. He's just like, it's just a fucking dog. And John Wick doesn't say anything and just pops him. Like, as badass as Jason Statham is, like explaining himself to this guy, there's just something so cool about not saying anything and just shooting somebody and walking away.
Boom.
It's just like, oh, that's the pinnacle of badassdom right there.
Badassdom?
Yeah. It's like
Way to go, Steve.
it's a word.
Yeah.
Badassdom.
So since they're completely different movies, we'll keep talking about Wrath of Man.
Yeah, well, what else do you have to say about Wrath of Man? Because I'm pretty sure that's the end. Jason gets his revenge.
As far as action and badass, like, it's a good action film on how it was shot and
Right.
what they did.
It was
And
very creative. I do like the
the
way they
story's not the
stated it.
easiest to follow, but every different turn in the story had some sort of good action scene
Yeah.
in it.
Like they definitely did break up some of the more like kind of dialogue-y heavy parts with
Yeah.
some action.
Right.
Just to kind of keep you interested, keep you confused, and kind of figuring out
Right.
what's actually going on right
You know,
now.
in the experience,
Yeah.
so to speak. They definitely did a good job of, like, you can definitely see a story throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yup.
And then at the end, you're like, we knew it was going to be kind of something simple like this, so
Right.
we're not mad that we had to wait to the end to get the whole story
Right.
because the pieces of the story were cool enough.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, all I can really say about this is like I thought it was a cool kind of like action movie, but it's not exactly what I wanted from like a Guy Ritchie movie. Like I love his like quick, like witty kind of like quips at each other, and like the way he writes dialogue is just so much fun. But like I just felt it was kind of like lacking in this one. Like it wasn't really what I've come to expect from him. But like, you know, all that
He
being
did
said,
something different and you didn't like
well,
it.
That's what I'm
No
saying.
way.
All I'm saying is, you know, I didn't think it
Hey,
was
Steve,
bad.
Steve, you got to let the painter paint.
Well, no, I'm not saying it was bad. I'm just saying of his movies, it wasn't my favorite. It was good, but like, yeah, it wasn't my favorite Guy Ritchie movie. That's all.
Well,
Okay.
Without attaching Guy Ritchie to it, solid action film.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But knowing
It's just-
that it was Guy Ritchie,
just
I just
something-
had a different thing in
something
mind.
different.
That's all.
Well, if it's what you expect, then they didn't do their job right.
I guess that makes sense.
You know
but
what I mean,
still.
Steve?
And like I
Anyway.
had no expectations, but I knew it was going to be an action movie, so I just kind of, you know, go into that mindset more than comparing it to other Guy Ritchie movies. Like I don't know. I don't even know if I could name 3 of them. But like
You definitely could.
No, I'm not good at names. But
Snatch. The Gentleman.
okay, so
Yeah.
with just not comparing it to anything, I'd say it was a average, pretty average action movie, and I don't think it was anything amazing. But it was interesting. It was different, and you know, if you kind of like a combination of a little bit of action, but also a little bit of trying to figure out what's going on throughout the movie, then maybe you'd like this. I don't know. When did this come out? How long ago?
This was pretty recent, if
Yeah.
I remember correctly.
Yeah, it wasn't too long ago.
Like 2018, 2019, somewhere
Alright.
around there.
Well, if you haven't seen it and you like action movies, go for it. I don't give a fuck.
Honestly, watch The Meg. You get to see Jason Statham
No.
shirtless, and he fights a giant
Fuck
shark.
the Meg.
No.
That movie's terrible.
No, this movie's way better. You're not allowed to say your opinion about movies, Steve.
But that's the whole purpose of this.
You're like 0 for 7
0
now.
for 7.
0 for 7.
We're 8 episodes in.
Yeah, you've got one of them right. You're lucky I gave that one to you.
All right, whatever. I have my opinions, you have yours.
We all have our opinions.
This is why we're never going to be true friends.
I just like that usually I'm kind of in the middle. I'm just like, it was a movie.
It
and
was a
I
movie.
watched
I
it.
definitely sat here for 2 hours and something flashed across the screen.
9 times out of 10, I come out of a movie like, okay.
I'm like trying to figure everything out in the movie the first time I see it. Be like, no,
Yeah.
this is why that
You're
happened.
like, the way he put his hand in his pocket really symbolizes it. And I'm like, cool.
I'm not that bad. Come on now. I'm
The
not
way
that
Jason
bad.
Statham pulled the trigger, you can tell he's about 14 to 15
But-
years within his pistol certification.
I mean, he had some good lines.
Yeah.
He
Like,
did.
you know,
Some little quippy ones.
you know, especially with the "Did you poo poo?" you know,
Did you poo-poo?
Did you poo poo? Like the,
The fact
hazing
that-
and stuff like that. He was pretty quick with it.
The fact that they had Jason Statham saying poo-poo in this movie.
Hey,
They didn't
had to
have that
pay
in the
him
Meg.
extra. They had to pay him extra. I'm telling you.
But yeah, anything else you guys want to touch on this?
I think it's a good one that if you don't follow the timeline in the movie, it's still a good action film.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
then if you follow everything to a T, it's still a good action film.
Okay.
So
I'll take it. I'll
you
take
can do
that
either
review.
one and still be like, all right, well, there were some good fist fights in that film for
Yeah.
sure.
Right. What did you think, Steve?
I think I've made it clear.
All right.
Yeah. I don't want to keep saying the same shit, but yeah, you know, it was a good movie. Not my favorite Guy Ritchie movie, but still, it was fun entertainment. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And I didn't get to see Jason Statham shirtless, so, you know, minus 20 points right
I
there.
wanted to see his dick, but
Dude, that too. I've never seen it.
I've seen it.
He was in a towel, I think, at one point, and I was like, take it off. No, he was in a robe.
Yeah. He's
was
in a bathrobe.
robe.
He looked very comfortable
Yeah.
after contemplating his son's death.
Show us that Jason Statham.
I want to take a bite out of that.
Hey, Steve.
Yeah, what's up?
Shut the fuck up.
All right, anyway.
Well,
To end it there, I think we all, you know, liked it. But anyway, from all of us here at Every Film in the Book, thanks for listening. We'll catch you guys next time.
Goodbye.
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 Hey, Steve.
Yeah, what's up?
Hey, Steve.
Yeah, what's up?
What's the music again? Steve's a piece of shit. Yeah, Steve's a piece of shit. Oh yeah, I know Steve's a piece of shit. No having fun with your fun hobbies. No having fun. Never. Are you enjoying yourself? You're doing it wrong.